Chats with Trae. Chats with Trae.
Well, welcome back to Chats with Trae. I'm really excited to, be getting our show going again. I know that we had several folks who've been asking me, what's going on? Where's your show? Where's your show? And during protest season, it's been hard to pull all of our productions back together. But shout out to the Converge team. We are making it happen. So I'm very thankful for my production team right here that's helping me pull this together. And this has been a concept that really has been in the works for me for a very long time. As a young child, I always would speak to my mom and grandma about our history, learning who we are, where we come from, what we do. And so I'm very, very honored to bring my mother and my grandmother onto my stage. Welcome, Trae Holiday Robinson and Ruth Holiday. Thank you, guys.
Oh, you're so very welcome, honey.
Thank you, sweetie.
You're so very welcome.
Well, the thing is that I think, a part of this entire show concept is just to capture the kind of chats folks have anyway, right?
Okay.
And really allow the audience to kind of tune in. And normally what we would check in with people in their comments, but I'll be reading them and catching up with folks after the show. But I really wanted to just capture how we chat. And I think there's a lot of movement that's been happening over the last couple of months regarding the protesting, the uprising. And so I really wanted to hear from both of your perspectives. As you guys know, I'm out here organizing a lot of these events and trying to help change the hearts and minds of folks as we move into what we're calling the new normal. And so, Grandma, I really want to start with you because, you were born in 1940 and the time was so different to what it is now. And at 80 years old, the perspective that you hold with folks getting out there seeking, change. I really wanted to hear from you. What does this movement mean to you right now?
Well, it means a lot to me. I think it's way overdue, but not being able to say why. Well, I know why, but I won't say it because we all know why. When things are wrong, nothing goes right. And when you mistreat one human being, mistreats another human being for whatever reason, it's wrong. And for to dislike a person because of the color of their skin is madness. It's crazy. And how they've treated us 400 years, and as long as we allow it, is how it's going to be. But it's not right, and it has to be changed. Yeah. And I think what you're doing is a wonderful thing. I didn't have I won't say the tenacity, probably not the tenacity to march and stuff, but I did voice opinion, signed petitions, and did different things because being a mother of a lot of kids, it was a little more responsible than, going out with a bat in my hand.
Right.
Right. I couldn't do that.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'm just so proud of you in your walk, and I'm just elated. I really am. You just anyway. So what you're doing is a wonderful thing, and there have been some changes, but there have to be some really big changes, not little bitty changes, but big changes. And I was told as a child by my mom, you want people to treat you good, you got to be good to people. Mm-hmm. Treat people like you want to be treated. And that's a good thing.
Yeah.
And I've been in situations where no fault of mine or maybe even the other person's in a ugly sort of way, because of the color of my skin, please.
Right.
It's just so crazy.
Yeah. It's wrong. And I think, someone like yourself has experienced it for so many years.
Yes.
That seeing this kind of awakening of change has got to be at least somewhat a bit of a relief. So that's what I'm hearing.
It is. It's a big relief because my grandchildren and great-grandchildren, they get to be able to see and witness some positive things as far as their race is concerned. Our race of people, the Negroes, the blacks, however you want to call them, have been some wonderful individuals on this earth. They built America.
Yeah. Straight
And
up.
some of, just Washington, D.C., built by black people.
Right.
In New York. I mean, and for people to,
Washington
yeah, Washington's everywhere. If there's progress, we help do it.
Yep.
And to be ridiculed and lied on and mistreated, it's wrong.
Well, I agree. And Mom, I know you work in the school district. You work in the school system. You have for many years really built your career, really being resourceful for families and really across all spectrums in the school systems. But, seeing people get out there, I know you probably seen some of your young students you used to work with just out there really voicing their opinion and trying to fight for something new and change, something that you've actually been doing from the inside also.
Right.
Oh, thank you, honey. So I'm just one of those quiet people in the background. But for those that know me, know I'm not quiet and I'm not in the background. But I've been able to see kids, like Trae said, I've been able to watch kids grow. I worked at Madrona K through 8 for 12 years. Most of those kids that I work with now are now in college, and I've seen some of them. To see what they're doing now is it is awesome. I was at an event with Trae and happened to run into Lester, who went to Madrona, who's now an artist. Just run into so many kids doing awesome things. I just think about I could just go on and on and on, but the activism, to see the activism happening and to see young people go, no, we're not taking it anymore. Yeah. It is so awesome. I participated in some marches when I was growing up, but nothing to the extent of what Trae is doing right now. I cry almost every day because I talk about my baby and they're happy tears. Because watching her progression of being an activist and trying to figure out how is she going to utilize this energy, and now she's utilizing this energy and people are, she's helping people and people are being able to understand that you can speak up for yourself. You don't have to wait for somebody else to do it. You tell people that's not right. And now with this movement happening, I am so incredibly grateful for the young people, because like my mom, she's older, I'm older. I keep telling people I'm old. I like to, go home from work and go get in the bed. I don't want to be protesting, but sometimes, and I told my baby, I'll come out sometimes. You could get mama out sometimes. So I've been to a couple of the protests, but I think that it is an awesome thing to be able to do, to show that we're not going to take it anymore. But the thing that I love the most is it's not just us. And so when you see pictures from the 60s, you see a bunch of us and you see some sprinkle of white people. This movement now, and it's a movement, and it's not going to stop. And I hope everybody continues to march and protest to November the 4th. Remember that. Continue to march and protest to November the 4th. I think that it is just so awesome just to see the young people go, no. And to see young white people, young Asian people, young Samoans, young Latino X, young LGBTQ going, no, we're not. When I saw the signs, the Latina X for Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter, y'all. I mean, I'm getting goosey. I know I'm gonna have to stop, but Black Lives Matter. Oh my goodness, of course we do. But to hear other people say Black Lives Matter, and to understand just 4 years ago, only 28% of the United States thought Black Lives Matter was a positive thing. It is on an upswing now, y'all. It is now at 55% and moving up, because people need to understand when we say Black Lives Matter, when we're saying Black Lives Matter, we're not saying no other lives matter. We're saying we do matter.
Yeah.
We are here. We've done a lot of stuff. We've done things, but we're not saying other lives don't matter. But what we're saying is we matter.
Yes.
And that's what we're saying. But what I love is that other people are also saying.
I think that
we're right here at East Precinct. It doesn't get any closer than this right now.
Converge Media produces culturally relevant content for Black and urban audiences. Our coverage is raw, transparent, and objective, praised by community leaders, government officials, and residents. As a small independent media company, we rely on the financial support of individuals and business members to stay on the front lines of the news that's important to you.
I think that you're right. It's one of the things that I uplift a lot in our planning meetings and just in general when we're talking to other people. And you know, I get a lot of correspondence. My phone's always ringing or buzzing or some type of other app I have to check for some messaging. But the truth is that the brilliance is all of the people are waking up. I had a lady email me and say, I'm just so happy. We were at the 4th of July event, which we held last week on 23rd and Union. You know, iconic too. That's where we grew up. You know, that was my childhood. I actually talked about growing up on 25th between Pike and Pine and our, you know, being displaced from the CD. I gave that story, very personal history, to the audience. And really, we were educating people about cooperative economics in terms of the PCC that's right there that historically really hasn't served the Black population, yet now they're in a location that was historically Black. And then you also had Uncle Ike's on the other side that was, just unfortunately, the cannabis industry is doing a lot to keep Black folks out of the industry. Mm-hmm. And so it's not Uncle Ike himself. It's just this symbolism. And yes, I think historically here locally, Uncle Ike's has had some issues with local organizers and things like that. I think there was some, not a shared set of values necessarily with regard to that corner and the way that it's developed. I mean, when you go to 23rd and Union now and you see all those high rises, I'm just like, what in the world? Like, we didn't grow up with that. And I was so thrilled when someone emailed me and said, you know what? We had no idea of the depth of how this systemic oppression, this racial system that is literally built into it to have a subcaste, always to have a subcaste. She said she didn't realize how connected it was with regard to the cannabis industry, and she was there with her mother. And this is what I love too, and this is why I wanted to do this 3-generation discussion or chat, because really for me, it's brilliant to see even through generations. People are understanding this and waking up. I think when you talk about the Rainbow Coalition, I love the idea of just, it's everybody. I mean, everybody is like, this is wrong at all levels. And I want to do whatever I can right now to stop this from moving forward.
Yes. And it's so important. I can't remember exactly where this sign was. I think it was in New York. This lady was holding up this sign that said, enough is enough. Enough is enough. This has to stop now. And it has been going on. I could tell you some horrible stories that I've witnessed as a child between the police and my race of people. And the saddest thing is that people think just because the man has on this uniform and it says he's a policeman, that he's some kind of God. No, he's a human being, and you don't know how this person has been raised and how his brain has been challenged. So they don't always look for the best out of people, and they do mistreat people, not all of them, but quite a few of them, and it has to stop.
I think that, the way that we've talked about it in terms of King County Equity now, now working with this coalition of, Black-led organizations and other-led organizations now, as we start to grow the coalition, now it's not just about Black-led, right? It's also, hey, like you said, this rainbow style. Let's really understand how we can dismantle this system together. And one of the things that I love, and I want to be doing an interview series and spotlighting folks, is the ones who are like, they come from bigotry. and they're like, man, I didn't realize how much that was. It just what you said. You don't know how someone's raised.
You don't.
So many things involving racial relations and, issues of oppression and just this system and dismantling it. So much of the nuance is really in that regard, how people see the world.
Right.
And then it's challenging that view of how they see it. So a few weeks ago, we did Juneteenth, right? So before we go to break, I just want to ask you guys quickly. When we were growing up, we celebrated the 4th. I didn't know anything about Juneteenth. And so I really want to hear from you guys. Now there's a whole campaign for Black people to never, ever celebrate on the 4th again, to just, Juneteenth is our 4th.
That's right.
And
That's
I agree
right.
with that. Of
That's
course, I
right.
agree with that wholeheartedly. But I really wanted to hear from you guys' perspective. How has it been as the rest of the country's been waking up to Juneteenth
I
for you
really
guys?
want to have a say so about the lady that really was a big force into bringing Juneteenth to our attention was Miss D. Charlene.
Yeah, we dedicated our event to her.
We grew up, we're from the same city in Texas, and we grew up Temple, Texas. That's where we were from. And when she moved up here, she moved up to Seattle before I did, from Portland. And Juneteenth was always in front of her. She really tried her best to get it. And I hope that somebody will acknowledge the fact that it's because of D. Charlene that Juneteenth has come from the grave, but has arisen.
You know what? That's exactly what we did. I mean, literally, because we understood it. So we started our march in front of D. Charlene's shop.
Good.
And her daughter was there. Rita Green was also there to give her words. Also, Robert Redwine, Lawrence Petrie, folks that D.
read about
Charlene
that.
worked with very much so. Were there on D. Charlene's
That's
behalf. And
wonderful.
I got much love for Miss D. Charlene, and meeting her, shortly before her death, she really brought me under her wing.
Right.
She realized I was
She
your
was such a-
granddaughter, and she said, look, let me tell you something about this organizing. Let me tell you something about Black community here in Seattle. She's been very integral to that
Right.
process. And to my understanding of a lot of the history, at least up and down just Madison alone.
Right,
You know what I
right.
mean? So much rich history there. But I just know that I feel like I love how the rest of the world is waking up
Yeah.
to Juneteenth. And again, when we growing up, we celebrated the 4th. I mean, we did fireworks, we did all the things
All of that.
because we thought that was normal. So what has it felt like for you, Mom? Just recently, it feels like Juneteenth is really taking a flight.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's wonderful. I have to say, I didn't find out about Juneteenth until June 19th, 1976. I touched down in Texas, in Houston, Texas, and there was big parties everywhere. And my grandmother took me, and she told me about the history. And just then it was like, wow. So why do we celebrate the 4th? So that was my experience. But of course, coming back here in the Pacific Northwest, I didn't go, okay, let's start celebrating Juneteenth. No, I just said, well, I don't really want to celebrate the 4th anymore. I mean, for years, I didn't want to celebrate the 4th, but there's other ones I don't want to celebrate. Thanksgiving, but we'll talk about that at a whole nother issue, another time. But what I like that's happening is that the conversation is starting to take place about Juneteenth being a national holiday. I work for Puget Sound Educational Service District 121, and we had Juneteenth was off that day. Juneteenth was off for us, and so that was the first time that they've done that. So people got that day off with pay. So things are changing, and so I'm happy that I am watching this and experiencing all this change. And I love the fact that people are now talking about Juneteenth like it's an actual thing. So let's do it. Let's celebrate. Let's have all that barbecue and celebration and stuff on Juneteenth instead of July the 4th.
Yeah, I agree, and I think it's definitely happening in the Black community wholeheartedly. It makes me happy in terms of just like, wow, what we were able to do here, that March, it was the largest Juneteenth celebration in Seattle's history thus far. And I think we estimated around 30,000 folks came out, to the march and rally. And really the swell of what's happening is folks are getting re-educated.
Yes.
I mean, we talk so much about it, but I think that the ignorance is what helps to thrive those ideals of hate.
And people are learning more about being a human being
And being the truth.
and the truth and what they've been led to believe, and how what really bothered me, I think I mentioned it to the family one time, is it's these young Caucasian people that don't really know too much about what went on in the South, these Northerners, how they want to be a part of the Ku Klux Klan. That's crazy to me.
Yeah.
How do you want to be? Why do you want to be a part of something that defies other people, other human beings, because of the color of their skin? You know, people need to really understand what being a human is. And it's definitely not killing another human because of the color of their skin.
Right. I think that the awakening is definitely happening. It makes me happy. I'm so glad that you guys are on today to actually talk about this. We're going to be diving into more, you guys, as we just come back after this break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Well, welcome back. Welcome back. Thanks for joining us right here on Chats with Trae. I'm the host, Trae Holiday, and I'm really excited to be bringing on my grandmother and my mother to have a 3-generational holiday chat about the times that we're in right now. So much is changing, and as we were saying on the before the break, that a lot of folks are waking up and realizing they're getting more closer to their humanistic side, and just like caring for people. I want to say this, one of the things that I think I've been witnessing the most, and it started right here, because our studio is in Capitol Hill. It started right here where a guy was like, look, all I know is once strategy began to be on the board, I knew that I had to bring my voice to making more folks aware about the strategy that's happening. And talking to Danica, my cousin in North Carolina, and she said, look, there ain't no community group I can connect with that's doing this work. She's like, this isn't happening in North Carolina. And so I just wanted to just really talk to you guys, because you were saying something about the Pacific Northwest earlier and how weird it is that young white people want to be part of the KKK. I think the Pacific Northwest holds some really unique characteristics in terms of, they talk about liberalism, they talk about progression a lot. And a lot of us do what you just did, Grams. We're like, yeah, right. What I'm seeing now is like, oh no, we got to own up to that.
That's
we
right.
Actually, if we're going to say that's who we are, we have to own up to
That's
that.
right. That's right.
That is absolutely right. I think I work at an organization, as I said, that is moving towards being multicultural and anti-racist. And so we can have those conversations and have those uncomfortable conversations with white people. And one of the conversations that I've had, and I am the only manager of color, but there are directors and executive directors that are black. But I have said over and over just how, if we're moving towards being a multicultural, anti-racist organization, why are we trying to make white people comfortable? Why is it important for white people to be comfortable? If we are trying to do this, we need to get it done. It needs to be done, and we need to get it done, and we need to not wait for white people to be comfortable. This is very uncomfortable. They're going to be extremely uncomfortable to understand that their whole life is a lie. Right. That's very uncomfortable for people. So we're gonna have to have patience, but we've had a lot of patience, but what we're gonna have to do is to be able to have those uncomfortable conversations with other people, even white people. I've had uncomfortable conversations with Africans because I found out, I went to, did a day at a refugee organization to find out that while they're in the refugee camps, you guys, no matter where they come from, It could be Africa, it could be Asia, it could be Russia. They are told, do not trust the African American man or the African American woman. So you understand the mindset that's happening when before they even get here, they're told not to like us. So you guys got to understand. But if you start having conversations with people and start breaking loose these myths, because that's what they are. They're myths.
They're lies.
They're told, they're lies, mama. That's exactly what they are. Let's just stop sugarcoating this. They're lies. They're told that the black man wants to rape their women and that the black woman wants their men. What I want to tell everybody, we don't want your people. All we want to do is be free. That's it.
And
That's
live.
right. It's about liberation out here. It's definitely not about that snatch. Okay.
Don't nobody want your man,
They
honey.
can
All we
keep
want to
that.
do is be free.
But you know what?
And
I
these
think-
people
go ahead,
work. Wait a
Greg.
minute. These people work at the borderlines, but bring people in. And I took a class. I was so outdone because it was, I was old. And I took this women's class and learned that no matter what you trying to do in life, there are people that don't want you to do nothing because of the color of your skin. Let's kill that war. What is it good for? Absolutely nothing.
That's right.
That's it. That's it.
Nothing
That's
but
it.
death. And
Bury that.
unfortunately, a lot of society has been built on the destruction of other ideals.
Right.
And when I was in Europe studying literally European culture and identity, that's where I learned that, because I was like, why has there been so many wars? Europe is just so war torn. And, as we were diving into the history, and even Europeans that were there, and they were talking about how this is why they are so nationalist, right? Like they focus on their nation, because the identity, as you start to go out, it just becomes very, very muddled.
Yeah,
It isn't very clear.
It's sad.
One of the things that I know, black people in this country, we talk about it a lot. Black people really help to build culture here.
Yeah.
And so I want to throw that out there to you guys in terms of how we're seeing this movement, kind of basing off something you said, Mom. White folks being uncomfortable right now. There's a lot of ideology out there. There's a lot of folks, I read a post, someone saying, well, they can have equality, but equity, come on. Like they just can't, they need to be happy with equality, right? But, and I also wanted to mention too, you were talking about it earlier, you were talking about civil rights. Now Black Lives Matter, right? Well, I just have to say this, Michael Che, very funny comedian, Saturday Night Live. Shout out to you, Michael Che. He's very funny. He said, man, back in the day, we were just fighting for literally, it was just civil rights. Hey, that's all we wanted was for you to treat us civilly. Like, can we just be civil? And he kept saying that. And then he said, man, we're not doing nothing radical. Literally, all we're saying is we matter. He was like, not more than you, not we're better, but just that we matter. Can you just accept that we matter? And I only mentioned those two statements because really, I think that, isn't that funny? But I really think that a lot of the movements of the past have been, as you were saying, very safe. You said it. There's a lot of black folks in the crowd, sprinkles of, some allies, white. Maybe there's some abolitionists that have been part of, slave, breaking. Yeah, it's always been kind of sprinkled in. But now, this idea of like so many people waking up, and I really feel like this is a very particular time. And when we're talking about, the importance of lives in general, and now we have to focus on Black because that's what's been so hammered down. I wanted to hear specifically from you, Grams. I know you talked about, you know, seeing things in the past. You came from a small town in Texas, settled up in Northeast Portland, and then eventually got right here. And what you experienced when you got here, you saw a Black community right in the Central District.
I saw it, and it was really, I think I kind of lost my mind. You know, there was so much going on with Birdland on 22nd and Madison. Birdland on 22nd and Madison. And then other Black owned businesses, Honeysuckles and Mardi Gras. And I worked at Jimmy's Cafe right up there on 20th and Madison. And there was a lot of culture. There was Webster's Pharmacy right on 22nd and Madison that was Black owned. That one of the daughters of Jeannie Webster was. She was the queen, I believe, in the Black Festival one year. She was the queen, Jeannie Webster. She was really beautiful. And I got to see all these beautiful people, and the weather was beautiful. I said, maybe I'm already in heaven. I don't know. Go out and dance and have a good time. You know, it was just fun city, even with the bad stuff. It was just fun because come Friday, you're going to go to Birdland and you're going to dance your troubles away. You know, and it sounds kind of silly to me now, but back then, that was very important to me.
Yeah.
You know, and I think I
You
thought.
used to dress up.
Oh, and it was so. Hey, you wasn't gonna get in no place in no jeans down to your kneecaps, okay, and no t-shirts. Oh no, you was gonna be dressed. The men was gonna have them three-piece suits on with the gold chain, you know, the pocket. Oh, honey, they was sharp. The women was gonna have on their furs. Hey, it was just beautiful. It was just beautiful. But then something happened. I think it was it the Vietnam War? One of them wars, I think it was.
Vietnam War, yes,
That's why I said, what is it good for? Absolutely nothing.
I agree. And you've seen so much too, as you said, you know, one of the things that I think is being worked on right now in terms of like community-based work is to bring so much of that back. You know, we talk about the Jackson Street Jazz and just, you know, the Black and Tan.
Yeah.
And I really always give love to Al Smith's collection at the Mohai. And I know we never made it down there to like really take you through that collection, because when I went through it, I told you, I just cried because it went back to the stories. Oh, I'm getting emotional. The stories that you shared with me, you know?
It was just a different time and different things. And now that when I get a chance to go down to Madison, it's so different.
Yeah.
And it's really, I miss it to this, a very positive point, because back then, the Blacks were united in a different kind of way.
Yeah.
And if things had not, the war had not come along and caused different, you see people now, men in wheelchairs from the Vietnam War and other wars, and you hear sad stories, and it just makes you so sad. And Madison used to be, one thing that was really remarkable, I think it kind of stuck with me, was the aroma in those places, the good smelling perfume. I mean, you could go in a place and the aroma was just so beautiful, it would just put you in a nice, pleasant place. I mean, people was laughing and talking, but nobody trying to fight nobody, And all this other ugly stuff came along, don't know, all I know is it can be done.
Right.
We can live a life like we're on our way to heaven.
Yes.
I love that.
Yeah.
But don't forget Jackson.
Oh.
You said from 12th and Jackson to 25th and Jackson.
Yeah.
Was all Black-owned businesses.
Black-owned businesses. Even down, I'll say from Maynard and Jackson.
Whoa.
To all the way up. There was,
25th and Jackson.
Record stores. What's his name? Bob. That's one thing I have to start writing notes because I forget people's names. But anyway, he had a record store right there on 12th and Jackson. Barber shops, beauty shops, little clothing shops, and Asian. And people was getting along. It wasn't all this stuff it is now.
Yeah.
you
it's
know,
getting back to that. I feel like too.
I
and
hope
then,
so.
Mom, I think you know, when we talk about the '80s and just the '70s, like the skating rinks and how you guys
Oh
used to.
my.
I
my
mean,
goodness.
yeah, I mean,
No,
the real
Ridge
story.
Ring, so there was a skating rink, and it was in the North End. It was on 85th off of Aurora. But there was one bus that you can take from the CD on Saturday and go to the Ridge Rink. My mother used to go to the Ridge Rink with us and catch that bus with us. We actually caught two buses because we caught the two to the 48 23rd, because the 48 23rd went all the way, it still does, goes all the way to 85th. And that was, kids came from all over.
We used to have so much fun.
It was just so much fun. But kids came from all over. I remember when Jack in the Box opened right there on 23rd in Union, right where Uncle Ike's is. That was, Jack in the Box was the first thing that opened up there. And it was awesome because, you know, it was the first drive-through restaurant.
And your brother
you
opened
know,
it up?
Yeah, my oldest brother was one of the first
God rest his soul.
people. Yeah, God rest his soul. He was one of the first people that worked there. But when I was growing, what I really, the one thing that I take from it, well, one of the things is the black-owned stores. Those are gone. But oh my goodness, the black-owned stores where you could go and they know you didn't have much money, so you had a you had a tab.
Yeah, the tab.
You had a tab, but you better go pay that tab on the first. But that was the thing, is that you could go in the store and you could buy groceries, you could buy eggs and sausage and not just, not junk. You could go buy food and not have to not feed your kids. You know what I'm saying? And just having those stores and having, I'm going to get,
stores.
The mom and pop stores, but also the barbecue joints, the fried chicken joints, the hamburger stands. I mean, just the different places, and Mama talks about the smells. When I was growing up, we lived on 15th between Marion and Columbia. But before we lived on 15th, we lived on 16th. But living down there, everybody was there. But our mailman lived 2 blocks from us. So we could see our mailman. We knew who our mailman was. We knew who, I used to go, after we did our chores, we were able to just go in the neighborhood and go, Trae, and able to go in the neighborhood. And we used to go do all kinds of stuff. And I remember me and my girlfriend, Charlotte, would go, we would make our little lunches and go sit, we were like 3 blocks from Seattle University. And here we are, 8 and 9, talking about we're going to go to this university, and we couldn't wait to go to this university. And, nobody even bothered us. Like, little kids, what are you doing here? Nobody bothered us. We were able to be unencumbered and be able to be free kids and being able to do that and being able to dream. And just, you knew your neighbors. You knew your neighbors, and your neighbors were like your auntie and your uncle. They wasn't Mr. and Mrs. They were auntie, like Aunt Jessie. We didn't know Aunt Jessie wasn't related to us, but we know that Aunt Jessie stayed home. Her husband worked. If she saw some stuff while May, our grandma was gone, we was going to be in trouble. Because then she was going to come across the street and she was going to get with us. And that means she had a belt. She had a belt. She had a shoe. She was going to get you. And then when May got home, yes, when my grandmother got home, it was you got another beating. And then you got marched across the street so you can apologize for her having to whoop you. So it is so different these days. But I'm so old school. When I used to be on the bus, my mom used to say, Tracy, you shouldn't talk to kids. People get all strange on the bus. I'm like, look, I'm not going to allow anybody to be disrespectful on the bus. And if that's where I'm going to die, then that's where I'm going to die. But I'm going to go back there and tell this little person, you might not understand, but you're representing your whole family while you're on the back of this bus acting crazy. And that's how I used to get kids to not act crazy at school.
Yeah.
Period. But they didn't even know that they were connected to somebody, but to tell them, you represent your family, right? And everything you're doing, they believe that your mama, and we both know, I can call your mama right now, and we already know you're going to get a whooping because you ain't supposed to be doing this. But they think this is how your parent is raising you. So that some of the kids, it didn't work on all of them, but it worked on
most of them.
Yeah.
Yes, it did.
And I think ultimately too, I think that's what a lot of folks are waking up to now. I am here representing something, whether I'm representing old norm ideologies or new norm ideologies, is something that I need to take into consideration for myself. And it's something that I'm loving to do this work. You know, K.Y. King Garrett, President and CEO of Africatown Community Land Trust, my brother, you know, working with him every day. And he was able to say, you know, to me, wow, we just did a reflective moment. I think it was earlier this week or late last week. And we just went, wow, like, you know, look at what we're doing.
Look
and
at
the
what you
fact
guys are
that,
doing.
you know, we're two Garfield grads who like, look at this, what's going on here, and pulling together all of the bright people. And, you know, hey, shout out to Garfield. Clearly my mom is a bulldog. But just so inspired. And you know what? I hate that I have to cut the show short today. I got a flight that I have to catch. But you guys
we'll come back.
Yeah, this
We'll
has been
come back.
an amazing discussion.
Sure enough now.
Yeah, I appreciate this because I think a lot of what folks are wanting to know and hear and see is how are y'all talking about this at your own dinner tables or, you know, when you have your family cookouts or your gatherings. And I think bringing you guys on helped to give a glimpse, I think, into that. And so thank you guys for watching the show today. As you guys heard it right here from my mother and my grandmother, you know, you guys got a full-on 3-generational holiday chat regarding this movement that we're in right now, the times that we're in. Obviously, we wanted to start with right now in the protesting, the uprising, how people are changing their minds and moving forward to really build and create a new normal. And then I had to end it and give you guys a little bit of history. And these are some of the stories that I grew up listening to and learning from. And like what was said right here on this couch, when you think about what it is you're putting out in the world, it'll really help you to shape and mold it so that you can stay, you know, focused on the fact that it's best to treat people how you want to be treated and do the right thing. So thank you guys so much for watching Chats with Trae today. We'll be back next Friday. Peace.
Thank you. Peace out.
We're right here at East Precinct. It doesn't get any closer than this right now.
Converge Media produces culturally relevant content for Black and urban audiences. Our coverage is raw, transparent, and objective. Praised by community leaders, government officials, and residents.
As a small independent media company, we rely on the financial support of individuals and business members to stay on the front lines of the news that's important to you.